welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris and I'm a gorilla in wrist. Today we're looking at the Helm Vanuatu. We're discovering that amongst its many qualities it is like a bus, in that you wait 4 years for one and another one turns up 2 weeks later. But on a more serious note, the question is this watch just too cool for Tool? Let's get into it. So before we get into the detailed specifications to the watch, I thought we'd do a quick run around. So this is the Helm Vanuatu. It came in at $300 US plus $30 odd for shipping. By the time I've converted that to sterling, we're talking about £240, and with taxation and duties brings it up to about $270, $280. It's a tool watch. It's curious because I didn't entirely know what that meant. It's a bit like an elephant. You know what a tool watch is when you see it, but defining it is, I find, a little difficult at times. And in my head, when I'm thinking of tool watches, I tend to be thinking of the Explorer, the Rolex Explorer. But this one meets all the requirements of a tool watch. So it's a 300 meter ISO certified diver. In terms of dial size, it's around 42 millimeters. The bezel is actually 43, so it does look big. It is very heavily loomed. You will see that when we do the Lume shot with BGW9. The dial layout, I think, is relatively simple. I think you have a matte black dial with indices all the way around. There's a date wheel at the 6 o'clock. You've got the Helm emblem above the pinion in grey. Believe me, you can't see it that well. I'll bring it up a little bit closer. You can't see it, doesn't show particularly brightly. And then below the pinion it says 300 meters diver automatic. It's a decent size, it's a decent heft of watch. It's about 14 millimeters thick, and the overwhelming finish on this is polished. So really nice. Not quite bead blasted, and it's covered in fingerprints because I've been wearing it since Santa delivered it on the 25th of December. But it has the Helm embossed logo on the crown, and let's just very quickly show you the back. Again, this is one of those things that Helm does really well. A really nice embossed back of the case. It doesn't leave marks on your wrist because it's got a NATO strap, and it comes with NATO. I actually chose the James Bond NATO to come with this, which is that grey and black one, which goes really well with the colours, that sort of monotone look to it. But this is the NATO that came with my Kuraburi, and actually with that little pop of orange on the second hand, that lollipop white, and then the pop of colour, it goes really well both with the dial and with the hands. And I find I'm kind of fascinated by the dial. This is one of those classic examples of less is more for me. Whilst it's a little bit busy with the bezel and everything else that's going on, they haven't thrown tons and tons. And I'd been wearing this watch for 7 days before I realised it had a date wheel, because it is very, very subtle at the bottom on the 6. So a really interesting, unusual watch. The bezel itself is 43 millimeters. Is actually stainless steel with a black PVD coating on it, with white lume markers over the top of it. And boy, is it loomed. You'll see that in the Lume shop. But it's just unusual to see stainless steel bezels. It's got a flat sapphire crystal covering the dial, with clear anti-reflective coating on the underside of the crystal itself. It has the NH35 movement in it. It's a bit of a looker. This is one of those ones that kind of struck me straight out of the box. It is distinctive. It's not flashy. And again, one of those things I think of when I think of a tool watch. It's a watch for a job, and this is a watch for a job. In my instance, the job is to make sure that I can see what the time is at 5 o'clock in the morning, and in the last 2 weeks it has never let me down. It's astonishingly visible. So yeah, let's do the detailed specifications. So let's run through the full specifications for this watch. So the dial width is 42mm, but the bezel itself is 43. The lug to lug is quite wide, 50mm, but kind of fits with the size, and therefore the lug width itself is 22mm. But it's not an overly thick watch at 14mm. Houses the NH35 movement, but weighs in at a chunky 229 grams. Has a water resistance of 300 meters and a nice flat sapphire crystal. So I did brave the outside world to do outdoor shots. As you'll see, the watch is astonishingly legible, works really well outdoors, it just really shows off the light. And then next up we have the Lume shot. And I have to say, I've banged on about the Lume throughout this video. This watch wasn't fully charged when I put it into the shoebox of Lume to take this video. But even so, it's still absolutely spectacularly good. And lasts long into the day. So for me, the Lume on this is an absolute winner. Hopefully if you have the benefit of enjoying one of these, you'll see that too. So let's talk about the things I don't like about this watch, and this is not going to take very long at all. First one is, once you've stuck it on this remarkable bracelet, which is lovely, by the way. The bracelet is fantastic. I haven't actually put it on the watch yet. We'll do that later on. Once you sling it on there, it's incredibly heavy. Close to 1/4 kilo. So weight might be an issue for some people. It is very heavy. The second thing I have a slight issue with, and I'm not sure why it is the case, but the crystal is a complete smudge magnet. And so I do find myself regularly doing this, just to clean it off a bit and get rid of it. So yeah, there is something going on there. I'm not quite sure why, but that's it. That's the only negatives I have about this watch. So let's talk about the positives for this one, and there are quite a few. The first is just the sheer visibility of it. There's absolutely no problem reading the time. Doesn't matter what time of the day or the night it is. This thing is astonishingly legible. With one notable exception, which is 6:30 in the morning, in the dark. Apart from that, for some reason I struggle to be able to distinguish 5:30 from 6:30. Something I'm working on. I'm getting therapy for it. But apart from that, this thing is astonishingly legible at any time of the day. That is absolutely amazing. The second thing I like about it is this fantastically robust NATO. It's got very simple, very functional, very tool-like furniture on it, and you can't see it very well. I'll try and see it on here, but it does have the Helm branding on the back of the buckle, so there is branding on there. But this is a seriously robust NATO strap. I love the colour of this, but it goes really well with this. The third thing I like of it is the solidity of it. So this is a very solid, you know you're wearing it, it's a very solid watch. The finishing is just really good standard. I'm not going to say exceptional, but everything that you need is done, and it's done well. So drilled lugs, the bezel is superb. I hope the microphone is picking that up, probably not, but this is a usable bezel, but also really strong and a really powerful one as well. So there's no backplay in it whatsoever. So yeah, so the bezel is just fantastic, and the Lume on it. One thing I guess observation about the Lume is that the bezel is as highly lumed as the dial is, and therefore when this thing glows at night it looks huge, because the bezel itself is 43mm across. So it does look a bit like you've got a sundial strapped to your wrist. It really does look very big, but I think that's quite helpful, and I'm trying to see the time in low light, and that's what I've been getting used to doing. So yeah, I think the finishing on this is absolutely superb, and there's something about it. There's the sort of the fourth thing I like is that the X factor. It just has it. There's a bit of it reminds me a little bit of Zin watches in terms of the layout. That's that very simple, clear, functional look. Almost a pilot watch in terms of that, and the dial is beautiful. It's not going to come across in these pictures because I'm on quite low light, but it's a beautiful matte black dial. Just makes everything really stand out. So having a go at summing this one up, it's quite difficult. This is quite a hard watch to review, predominantly because I've struggled to find anything that I don't like about it. It turned up on the 25th of December. Actually, it turned up a little bit before then, but Santa delivered it on the 25th of December. I took it out. It was on the NATO strap. I put it on my wrist, and I have barely taken it off since. I did the sort of top 5 watches that I had worn. This wasn't a million miles off making that into my most worn watches of 2023. I am absolutely certain it will be in the most worn watches of 2024, as it's only the 6th of December and I'm not convinced I've taken it off since the 25th. It's just a fantastic watch. I absolutely love it. Very easy to wear, very good build quality, does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a joy to wear. So what I'm going to do now, just as the finishing thing, so you've seen on this, I'm going to sling it on the other NATO strap that it came on, and then I'm going to put it on the bracelet, so you can tell me what you think of that as well. So this is on the orange and black. So next we're going to try it on the Bond NATO. Again, I think it's a really good match. The black picks out the black in the dial, and the grey and white kind of work really well together. It's a much more subtle, much less in-your-face watch strap than the black and the orange one, which is a little on the shouty side, but I like it being a little bit on the shouty side. But this one works well as well. And again, the quality of the strap is just phenomenal. So last thing to do is just to sling it on the immense bracelet and see what we think of that. So finally, apologies, that took slightly longer than I thought it would. Here it is on the 5-link engineer bracelet, I guess you would call it. It's got Helm on the clasp, really decent scissor clasp, milled clasp. It's just glorious. It's screw links, and get this, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes of micro adjust, and this Gorilla had to have it on the 5th micro adjust hole. So I think realistically what that's probably telling me is that there's a link too many in this. You heard it first here. There's a link too many in this watch for this Gorilla. I think that's just absolutely amazing. I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit because I hadn't stuck it on the bracelet, because I was really enjoying it on the NATO straps, and the bracelet just is fantastic. Let's just very quickly stick it on wrist for a final wrist shot. Just come out a little bit. There you go. That's it from the review of the Helm Vanuatu. I'm slightly worried because this is my first video of 2024. I'm struggling to think how I'm going to get to beat it. This watch is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely love it. Love it on this bracelet. I love it on the 2 NATO straps. Very little negative to say about it. The only downside is the waiting list. So Helm, order stuff more quickly, please. That's it. That's the end of this review. Thank you for your time. Thank you for seeing it through to the end. Lots more really good stuff coming up, he said. I might struggle to top this one. All that's really left for me to do is to wish you a fantastic rest of the weekend, and hopefully see you back again very, very soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.